Yo, what's going on, guys? Versal here, and today we'll be talking a little bit about the next set that's coming out, which is Rage of the Abyss. I'm going to go over some of the more meta-relevant cards in this set and what it means for Dino specifically, since I know it's what most people that watch my channel are here for. But yeah, we're going to kind of go over that, what it means for the deck, and some of the things you need to be prepared for when this set does come out. But before I get into the video, if you're interested in this Dinosaur playmat or these sleeves, check out finalsaga.de. If you decide to buy anything, use my code VERSAL10 for 10% off your order. They got a bunch of other cool stuff over there, so definitely check them out. And if you do decide to buy anything using my code, it supports the channel directly, so keep that in mind. But yeah. So this set's given a lot of support to random archetypes, such as like Mermail, Shark, Six Sams, which is like overhauls for those decks, which is cool. They're probably like mostly just rogue options, but it's definitely some cool support. Then there's like the Metal Morph cards, which are nice. Those can give you like a Omni Negate randomly in like any deck, I think, but see how much play they see. Alkanix is finally getting imported for Fire King, which is very good for that deck. Centurion is getting the new Synchro. I think that deck's still not like the best, but it plays well under the main topic of this video, which is Molcharmi Fuvaros. So probably gonna be relevant. The main things that are relevant to like the meta are, one, the new Fiendsmith card, Lacrima the Scarlet Sorrow. It's a new main deck monster that kind of replaces what Necroquip Princess did for the deck, which is like make the one card combos flow a lot better. So I could see people playing that. It just depends if you'd rather have like the card in the main deck or the card taking up a slot in your extra deck. But that's definitely a one of for a lot of the Fiendsmith decks, I think. Then we got the Azamina cards. These cards can be used in Dinos potentially, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but these cards are just another like kind of generic engine that is pretty ridiculous. The main impact these engines gonna have is Snake Eyes is gonna be the best deck again. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just how it is. They didn't hit the deck hard enough on the last ban list for when this set actually comes out. I think Snake Eyes, as of right now, before this set comes out, is like okay. It's not like the best, but it's far from being like bad either. But when this set comes out, it's just gonna be the best deck again. But yeah, there's some other decks that can use it, like Chimera, which is like another pretty good deck, but mainly I think it's just gonna be Snake Eyes taking over again, unfortunately. And then the main topic of this video is gonna be this guy right here, Molcharmi Fuvaros, aka Maxi JR. This card is like more or less Maxi, going second for a lot of decks. Not every single deck, but this has an impact on Dinos very, very significantly, which I'll talk about in a second. But first, I'm gonna go over Azamina a little bit, since that's like less of a big deal for Dinos, but something I haven't shown off on the channel yet is a different version of Dinos that plays the Sinful cards and the Evil cards. So it's mainly focused around original, getting you access to the Mega Chirelia, which gets you into these, and then these get you like the Lars through the trap. So these cards are cool with the Wanted package. I'll be doing a deck profile on this version of the deck as soon as my Wanteds and Diabellstar come in. But I've been doing a lot of like deck theory with it the last week or so, and definitely look out for that probably in like a week or so, depending on how long the mail takes, but should be here within a few days. But yeah, the Azamina cards can be relevant for this version of the deck, just to give you more access to the Black Witch, and then like the Wanted and all that good stuff. And then the Azamina cards can give you an Omni Negate as well with the Fusion. So I can pull up some of those on my phone. So the main 3 of is the Deception, which you tribute a monster from your hand or field, and then you add an Azamina card from your deck to your hand. So that's typically going to get you into the Sacred Azamina. And this one reveals a fusion in your extra deck, and then you send a Sinful card from your hand or field to the grave for every 4 levels the revealed monster has. And the ruling with this is, like, say you want to do like a level 6, like this one for example, you only have to send 1 card still, since it doesn't get to 8 levels. So you just send the Deception that's already face up on the field. So that gets you into these, and then this one searches you a Azamina or Sinful card, so it's gonna get you wanted. And then this is the Omni Negate. So these cards are extremely strong if you're playing a deck that's playing the Wanted package. I'm assuming the Deception is going to be a secret rare, and it's going to be expensive because this is like the 3 of. These are all 1 of, so I'm not sure if we're going to end up playing it or not, but it's definitely an option to give the deck more 1-card combos, which is like the main reason to play like this stuff in the Dino deck, is you have like just more like cards that do something by themselves. And these are all like good extenders, like the starter side, whether it's like the Wanted or the Witches, stuff like that. These are just like the engine requirements, but both of these and the Wanted stuff actually combo with Baby as well, so that's like another bonus to where like the Wanted by itself just gets you access to like Conductor and the Trap without playing like any of the other stuff. But if you have a Baby, you can take it further, since later in the combo you dump Misk with the Leos. But if you have just these and a Baby, they also combo. So these are like not the worst cards, even though they can be bad draws since it's a lot of normal summons. But if you do happen to draw these with like a Baby and you don't have like a actual combo, those work perfectly fine together. The additional combos with this deck can be more fragile, but the regular Dino combos when you don't have Misk are also fragile, so it's really like whatever. It just gives you more ways to play, which is what the deck really needs. And then the Trap card helps you into board breakers like Dark Ruler, which you otherwise have an issue with. And then the version that I'm testing also plays Princess, so you have like the Trap and then the Princess Pop, which can float into some other stuff potentially. So it gives you a nice little backup plan for if you get hit by like a Dark Ruler or something like that. But yeah, that's really about it for the Azamina cards. I think they could be good in the Dino deck, but I'm still kind of testing ratios with that stuff. But I'm assuming it's going to be an expensive secret rare, so I'm not sure if I'm going to bother buying it or not, but we'll see. I'm kind of like at the point with this game where I just want to play Dinos the most competitively that they can be played. So if I'm going to continue to like play the game at anything above like a super casual level, I might end up just buying all these cards regardless because I want to play Dinos. But we'll move on to the main card that this video is centered around, which is the Fuus. So if you for whatever reason have no idea what this card does, it's pretty much Maxi going second. It's a quick effect that if you control no cards, you discard it, and then every time your opponent special summons a monster from the deck or extra deck, you draw a card. And then it has like the drawback that the other Mulch armies have, that at the end of the turn, if your hand has more cards than your opponent controls, +6, you have to shuffle cards randomly back. So that really never came up with the Perulia, but it comes up a little more with this card potentially. But even so, it's really hard to have 6 more cards than your opponent has on the field, unless they're not really ending on much. But if they're going to be playing into the card to give you that many draws, they're going to have like a few cards on field at least. So this card is definitely insane. It's pretty much functionally Maxi when you go second, but it is a dead card going first, so that's like the drawback. But I think this card's going to be in a lot of main decks at first for sure, but I don't think it might stay in the main decks. but it's 100% going to be a side deck staple at the bare minimum. But we'll see how that develops. But this card is a huge buff to Dinos if you are playing a going second build. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm assuming this card is also going to be a secret. It's probably going to be $100 or more per copy, so that's going to suck. But this card's going to be huge for Dinos going second. And pretty much any blind second build, like Tenpai, for example, I think is really good after this set comes out again. In addition to this card, they get the Dominus Impulse as well, which I didn't really talk about, but that's another like meta-relevant card. It just doesn't really matter for Dinos since we can't play under the restrictions. But yeah, Fuus is crazy for us for going second builds. It's a huge, huge boost to the deck there. Helps your consistency a lot. It helps just forcing your opponent to kind of make more minimal boards, which Dino has no problem tearing through very easily. But on the downside, when you go first, the Fuus hurts this deck a lot. We don't really have like clean lines for like minimal draws versus the card. So if you're just playing the deck normally, that's going to be an issue for sure. So you have to have something in place to either stop the card from resolving or plan after the card does resolve. So in terms of the normal Dino combos, you don't really have a choice. If you want to play into the card, you're giving your opponent like minimum 6 draws, I think, or something like that, just to not really end on much, so it's not really worth it. With the Wanted package, you can do a little bit more, like with only a few draws, but it's still like a handful of draws, which is a lot for very minimal disruptions to put out. So there's a few cards that I think just inherently play well under this card, and the main thing for the Dino deck, I think, is the Kashtira package. Whether you're playing just Fenrir's or you're playing like the full package, I think these cards have a lot more value after Fuus comes out in general, and especially in the Dino deck, since these cards can help you with consistency through Lost World as well. And I think with the Sinful build, the Fenrir is really nice to give you extra cards for discarding. And then if you want to play the planet as well, like you can send this from the field to summon like Black Witch, and then you'll get your Fenrir, and then with the Mega Chirlia, you have to discard for this, you could just discard the extra Fenrir. So these cards are great for hand economy with the Sinful version. Whether you play the Unicorn of Birth as well, or just like 2 or 3 Fenrirs and Planet with like Terraforming and 1 or 2 Lost Worlds. I think these cards are just really good though in general in the deck, and then especially after the Fuus comes out, because they don't get a draw if you special summon a Kashtira monster, and these cards are giving you board presence without giving them any of those draws. So I think these cards are great in the deck now. I think they're great in the future, and would definitely get your hands on some of these for sure if you don't have them already. I think that these especially are good candidates to be in the Bonanza set next month, or not next month, but it's in like a month and a half, I think. But I could see these getting reprinted if you don't have like I think Fenrir is like 30-40 bucks a playset now. So, but if you just want to play now, you could get like 2 Fenrir and 1 Planet and then call it a day, and that's still like really good. But yeah, I like the cash cards a lot. I think they're very good in the future. Another thing you could also try is like a trap version of Dinos. I'm not really sure how good this would be, but this is something like we used to play a long time ago. And then like you could play survival and control maybe. I don't know. It's just an option that's like doesn't rely on you comboing exactly. But yeah, I'm not really gonna talk too much about this since I've never really played this version of the deck, but I know some people have messed around with it and like it, so I figured I'd just mention it. Just something you could try and play, like a more controlled version of the deck. But I'll kind of talk about the counters to this card now. Before I want to do that, I guess I'll mention the Jirac stuff that's coming, and probably not for another like 6 months or so. If Fuus is even legal then. But if they make it a secret, it's going to be legal still, so it's worth mentioning. The Jirac cards play pretty well under the Fuus to give you an extra line that you can just set up like the board wipe with pretty minimal draws, so that's like something to keep in mind for the future. But the Giraffe cards are too far away for me to really care too much right now. But alright, so here's like some of the counters and things you could play to use if you do get hit by the Fuvaros. So you can use like the typical Maxi package, Ash, Call By, and then Cross Out to just stop the card from resolving altogether. If you're playing a going first version of the deck, you're gonna at least need to play the 3 Ash and the Call By for sure. And then Cross Out, depends how heavy main deck usage Fuvaros gets, I guess. Like I said, I think at first everyone's gonna main it for the most part, but I could see it becoming more of like a side deck staple after the like initial like hype of it. Like right now everyone's like, oh, it's Maxi, just you main deck Maxi, but it's not that simple since the card is dead going first, but it's still very strong. I think a lot of people will main deck it despite that. But the downside to Cross Out is you actually need to own the card yourself. So if it's a secret rare, it's going to cost $100 or more. So you have to at least have one to be able to even consider using Cross Out, which definitely sucks for anyone. I can't even say on a budget, because even if like you have the money that you could spend on these cards, it just doesn't feel worth it for the most part. Like, I could buy a set of them, but do I really want to? Not really. Will I? Probably, but we'll see. But yeah, these are like the ones that actually negate the card. But to kind of talk about some of the things you can do if you do get hit by it. Like I said, through like the regular Dino combos, you don't really have a good plan into these cards in terms of giving them minimal draws. So I think what we can do is potentially main deck 3 copies of Thrust. And then this is assuming that Fuvaros is a main deck card, obviously. If it ends up just being in everyone's side deck, then we could side deck the Thrust. But you could play 3 of these, and then you could play like 1 Talents just to have as like a going second target for this card. And then you could grab this, you can grab Engine, that's like fine. And then depending on how people use the Fuvaros, Talents could potentially be good. But with Perulia, you see a lot of people shotgun it. I could definitely see Fuvaros not getting shotgunned, just because you can use that card a little more in reaction to your opponent's card than Perulia. Since Perulia hits normal summons, you kind of have to shotgun it or it loses a lot of its value. That's not the case with Fuvaros at all. So you could definitely see people holding it to the main phase, which would turn on Talents. But we'll have to see how that plays out. But that's my initial like thought process. I could see people definitely not shotgunning that card, which would make Talents better. But some people will shotgun it just to play around the Talents. But the good thing is, even if they do that, they're playing into Thrust no matter what. So with Thrust, my battery's getting low. 1 second, there we go. So yeah, with Thrust, if Fuvaros does end up being a main deck card, we can main deck 3 of these. And then I think the 2 trap cards that are the best in terms of main deck ability are the Black Goat Laughs and Daruma Karma Cannon. I think these are like the best 2 generic ones. If you wanted to main deck the 3 Thrusts and 1 target to go with them, these would be the best 2. If you don't know what these do, the Black Goat Laughs, you declare a monster card, and this turn neither player can special summon monsters with the original name, except from the graveyard. So this can help handicap a lot of different decks. And then it also has a graveyard effect that you can banish them from the grave, then declare a monster card. Then this turn, neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that name, but you can only use 1 of the effects per turn. So if you set it, you can use the first effect, and then on the following turn, you could use the graveyard effect. So that's pretty good. But the Karma Cannon, it changes as many monsters in the field as possible to face down defense. And if either player controls a face-up monster, they have to send it to the graveyard. So it's either going to flip all their monsters face down, then if they have like links or whatever left over, those are going to get destroyed. So this card's a very good blowout, and it's pretty hard for a lot of decks to play through this card. So I think if you're going to main deck 1 of these, it kind of depends on how the format is, but I think the Karma Cannon's typically stronger, but the Black Goat Laughs is a little more versatile, so that's something to keep in mind. And then post side, the main 2 you're going to see is D-Barrier and Different Dimension Ground. The Different Dimension Ground, if you don't know what this does, any monster sent to the grave is banished instead. So this hurts a lot of different decks. And then D-Barrier, I'm sure everyone knows what this card does, but you declare a card type, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exceeds, or Pendulum. And then for the rest of the turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the type. And then negates the effects of the monsters in the field that are that type as well. So this card's a blowout against a lot of decks. So is this. These are like the main two, especially post side. I don't think these two are like main deckable for the most part, but it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, I think Thrust is going to be huge to kind of help play through the Fuus, in addition to like the cards that actually negate it. But yeah, if you do get hit by it, you can set a floodgate and hopefully survive. But that's going to be it for the video today. Hopefully you learned something. Take care. Peace.